We welcome all of you back. As promised, we're headed down to Dallas, Texas, where Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lea joins us. Clark, thanks for taking the time.
It's great to be with you. My only complaint is that we should be doing this in Nashville again, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And when we do, your dad needs to be at our broadcast site.
Well, that may be where you and I have a little disagreement, George. I think he tends to hog the airtime when he's around. So I'm just kidding.
As I told him a year ago, pay no attention to Clark. You just sit with us.
That's good. I think he became familiar with all the national television and radio hosts as he made his way around as Clark Lea's dad, which was
Oh,
pretty special.
I love it. It
In
reminds
fact,
me
George,
so.
we left for the day, and I remember, as we got back to campus, looking around, saying, "Hey, where's my dad?" And I called him, and he didn't call me back for another 3 hours or so, but he had still been on Radio Row, just making the rounds. So he got very familiarized with this process.
I love him. It reminds me so much of my dad back when I was getting started. So let me ask this question. As the season went on last year, and it obviously was not what you wanted, you kind of went through a little bit of an internal, okay, where are we? What are we doing right? What aren't we doing right? How do we get it to the level we want it? What do you think you learned out of that?
Well, obviously a lot, and I'm going to talk about this today a ton. But I have a belief that we're here to be successful, and I have a belief that challenge makes way for opportunity. And in those moments, you have to reflect and say, look, what is the reason for our shortcomings? What are the things that are holding us back? Because as I do this, there are so many things that I feel like we're doing really well, and yet it did show up in the results for us. And so I think you can go back and trace that line to 22, where we were able to finish with a couple of league wins and feel like we were gaining some momentum. Obviously, we didn't finish that year the way we wanted to, but the spirit coming out of that 22 season was we're going to double down on the things that got us to this progress in hopes that we just take that next step. And I think in reality, I didn't scrutinize quite deep enough some of the things, the underlying things that were going to hold us back from taking that step. And so, it's about a overhaul of how we train our team. It's about an overhaul of offensive and defensive systems. It's about full participation in the transfer portal and NIL, but not feeling like we got to dig up the foundation of the program that we built, because there's a lot of things that we're doing again that that are going to give way to success and progress on the field. So you go through an examination, a deep dive into with all these things. I mean, it's never easy, but again, I'm here to win. And I've got to confront the question, what does winning ask of me every day? And that's what I did in the offseason.
So, being the football junkie that I am, I would watch a lot of Tuesday night games in October. And I kept seeing this kid, Diego Pavia, and I would talk about it on the air that none of you know who he is, but this guy can really play. Talk to me about the whole New Mexico State connection for your team, and how did this happen?
Well, I've always had a respect for Derrick, and I've had the opportunity to compete against him once in my career. And it was right before he had to step away at Minnesota. We played him in a bowl game when I was at Syracuse. I happened to run into him the springtime heading into the 22 season, so his first year at New Mexico State, and it was my first chance really to get to meet him. And we exchanged contacts, but that was really it. I mean, you get so busy in these cycles, it's just hard to stay in touch. But I definitely was tracking his progress, and coming off the first year when they made a bowl game, so excited for him. And then, in this past season, they opened the year with a loss against UMass, and I remember being disappointed for him. But then to watch them just rally off win after win, and really culminating in a road win against Auburn, and that just happened to be the week after we had played Auburn at home, and really had a disappointing showing. And so I just set out and studied that game. I think I probably watched it in 1 week, 9 or 10 times from start to finish, all three phases. Just to look at what the anatomy of that kind of win is. And what I saw was a well-coached team that played together. They were tough. They were sound, solid, and simple on defense. Offensively, they did enough to keep the ball in play and to keep pressure on the other team. Diego Pavia throws an interception early in that game and suplexes the linebacker on the sideline. Like, you could just tell that there was a competitive spirit there. They were multiple on offense. They weren't gimmicky. And so my goal at that point was, we're going to take the staff out to Las Cruces and visit with Jerry and his team in the off season. And obviously, as the year progressed for us, and as I made decisions to change our staff, Tim Beck became a part of a process for me where I'm evaluating offensive coordinator candidates, and every measure that I put him against, it seemed to make a lot of sense that the type of offense he runs, the type of coach he is a great fit for us at Vanderbilt. The idea that it became a package deal and Jerry came along, I think, is just such a great tip of fortune for us. And he's a guy that I lean on now, and he helps me with all our operational systems to make sure those are aligned and running the way we want them to run. And I can focus my attention on the defense and mentoring the defensive staff and ensuring that side of the ball is advancing the way it needs to advance. And he does the same for offense, and he's become a great teammate. So again, all good things. I could have never imagined, Jerry agreeing to become a part of this, but he was excited to do it, and I was excited to bring him on.
How do you maximize Diego Pavia with Nate Johnson?
Well, that's the question. I think the first thing we have to determine is who goes out and takes the first snap, and then we have to look at how do we get everyone that can help us win involved and touches on the ball. And Tim again has done that. I mean, if you look at the New Mexico State team, there were times where Eli Stowers was taking snaps. Eli, who's a tight end for us now, was a quarterback recruit out of high school that went to Texas A&M, and so he's one with creative, outside the box thinking. Again, without offense becoming a gimmick. I mean, it's a tough physical approach, but also there's enough formation and motion that creates some window dressing that challenge the defense. And so it's fun for him to have the tools. The next month is going to determine how we put those tools together to best position our team against Virginia Tech.
Let me ask an NIL here because it's out there. When London Humphreys left, this is a kid that grew up here, who'd been a Vandy fan. It's a tough decision, and immediately people are saying, well, Vandy's just a feeder for other schools when they get somebody who's good enough. But it sounds like you've fought back. You've raised some money. Talk to me about the process of how you all are trying to skin this crazy cat.
Well, listen, that whole experience was a nightmare, and I think it's one of those things that as I accepted the job and I understood some of the shifts in landscapes, you constantly are concerned about the NIL and transfer portal becoming something that is a disadvantage. Certainly for us at Vanderbilt, is we're trying to transform so many aspects of this program that have held it back from being what I know it can be. A successful, sustained, successful program at a great university in a great city. So, that hurt because there's a developmental player that we identified that that had a great start to his career. That certainly we were looking to continue on that road of progress and have him do great things in black and gold. It also was a wake-up call. And I think when these things happen, again, there's nothing I can do about that once it's done, but I can certainly look at it and say, okay, what is this telling me about what we need to do? Because I came here to win. And what you realize really quickly is so long as you shift yourself to the next thing you need to do, one of the things that NIL and transfer portal allows you to do is to go out and patch those holes and to strengthen your team. And we did that. But as far as how does Vanderbilt become competitive in this landscape? I think, I'm working hard with our administration to identify areas where, we need to shore up our process, and we need to strengthen in terms of how we resource the team. And Candace Lee's been a great partner in that. And we're trying to not just grow a program, where one hasn't been, but also to do it in a totally new landscape where, we're going to need to ask more and more of our Vanderbilt community and all the people out there that care about what we're doing, to best position this program to be competitive in the SEC. And again, I am so excited about what we were able to do in the wintertime, and then again in the spring with the offense, the addition of players. None of that happens without resources. And the reality is, once you get past the sting of some of the early setbacks, you realize what a great opportunity we have. But it is going to take people caring about what we're doing, and it is going to take resources. And I'm not a fundraiser, George. I might give you a call here at some point to see what you got for me, but I need to be focused on coaching the team, and I think that's what everybody wants. I'm leaning on our administration and leaning on Candace to help come up with a game plan to do this at a really high level.
Billy, if he can get the money from me, then that guarantees he's a hell of a fundraiser.
Coach, last thing here, defensively, this is your defense, taking it over. You talked about in the fall how excited you are and how much fun you're having. What are you most excited about within this defense, and especially some of the new pieces you guys brought in?
Well, this is what I love to do. And I think sometimes in all of the chaos right now, that can be lost. This is still about teaching. It's about developing people. These are things that I built passion for over a career. And the fact that I get to do them every day now is reinvigorating to me. Ultimately, I am developing a system that hopefully best suits our players. There are things that we looked at on the film and said, this isn't quite good enough. There's not enough variability. We're not contesting space the way we should. I didn't see a defense that was confident and playing with confidence. And when you see a defense click together, it's inspirational. I mean, it's a team game. You have to have 11 guys on the same page, everybody doing their job. A good coordinator understands the strengths and weaknesses of his unit and is able to put the pieces together in a way that spreads the hard down around, that protects the deficiencies, and that we can play aggressively through our strengths. And so that's kind of what we've set out to do. We've done a lot of evolving from winter to now. But I'm excited about where we are. We've added some playmakers. We've developed some playmakers. In our league, it's always going to start up front. So, to shore up our defensive line and to really feel like we're fundamentally and technically sound there. I think we've grown in that area. We both added a couple of pieces, but we've played a lot of young players here in the last couple of years that have grown into what I believe to be SEC caliber players. And on the perimeter, we've added some pieces at corner that are going to help us and build our depth out at that position. In the middle of our defense, I think, is strengthened through experience. So again, at this point, we haven't given up a yard or a point, Billy. So it's all good, but certainly something that I'm excited for. And look, for us to be good, it's about establishing a run on offense, the ability to score touchdowns in the red zone. Defensively, we got to be able to get the ball back. We have to create turnovers, and we have to get off the field. And if you look at our numbers from a year ago, it was not good with respect to our third down performance. We were able to generate turnovers, but we were giving the ball up too much on offense. And so, my focus on the defense is to strengthen, interconnected football and that we can play well in all three phases.
Clark, I appreciate you taking the time to join us. Thank you for doing that. But most importantly, tell your dad I said hello.
I will. I'm sure he's tuned in and watching. So, but I'll pass that along and look forward to seeing you guys back in Nashville.
Beautiful. That's Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lea joining us from SEC Media Days in Dallas. Stay tuned. We've got more coming up as you listen to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.